Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, you may notice there was no show on Monday. Because now that it is the offseason, the show is going to be going to one day a week on Wednesdays. All right, so every Wednesday I will be here talking about some off-season stuff or whatever else is going on in the world of basketball. All right, so remember, no show Monday, Friday from now on until the season starts up. I will only be here on Wednesdays to talk to you guys. All right, so that's how it's going to be going from this time forward. Like I said, there's not going to be an episode on Friday. Won't be an episode next Monday. There will be an episode next Wednesday. Okay? But nonetheless, that doesn't mean the show changes. We're still talking about the same stuff, and we still got to recap, yes, Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Talk about that. We're going to recap the Finals as a whole also, but not more so, but I'm going to talk about the stats and all for Game 4, talk about what I saw from the Cavs, what I saw from the Warriors, and then talk about if we learned anything from the series or whatnot in this first segment. All right, so we're going to do that. Second segment, it's LeBron Watch now. It's the offseason. Where in the world is LeBron going to go? Okay. We're going to talk about that. Third segment, let's say LeBron doesn't go to LA. What does Paul George do? Let's say that his top two choices are Oklahoma City and LA, and LeBron's not going to LA. Do you go back to Oklahoma City or do you go to LA? All right, so we'll be talking about that. And then for the fourth segment, we will be talking about anything else going on in the world of basketball. We got to talk about Kyrie Irving and an extension. He says it doesn't make sense to sign one. He's right, but I don't think it means as much as everyone thinks it does. Okay? So that's how the show is going to go. It's going to be a fun one. Again, we're not switching anything up. All right, it's just the offseason, so it'll just be one day a week, but the show's going to remain how it always has been, where we're talking about anything else going on. The NBA always does well to give us stuff to talk about, I feel. All right, I'm sure we're one big trade away from Twitter breaking or Twitter blowing up or something like that. So let's talk about Game 4, okay? Going into it, obviously, I mean, the Warriors were up 3-0. I figured that, the Warriors were going to blow them out. Okay, and you can go back to Friday's episode, and I'm pretty sure I said it there. But nonetheless, I figured that the Warriors were going to blow them out. I mean, the Cavs were down 3-0. They can't really expect themselves to get back into the series. And, winning a game in Cleveland and losing in 5 to Golden State is really pointless, honestly. So I figured it was going to be a blowout. It was. The Warriors won this one, 108-85 for the Warriors. You had Draymond Green with 9 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds, also had 3 blocks. He shot 4 of 8. Kevin Durant had 20 points, 10 assists, 12 rebounds, shot 7 of 17, 0-3 from the three-point line. In this game, Kevin Durant didn't really have to do much because Steph Curry went out there and dropped 37 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 12 of 27, 7 of 15 from the field. Klay Thompson had 10 points in this one, 6 rebounds, shot 4 of 10. Look at that. Klay dropped in 10 points, and they still blew out Cleveland. JaVale McGee, he was pretty good in this series, I'd say. Had 6 points, 3 rebounds, finished shooting 3 of 4. For the bench, you had David West, played 8 minutes, had 2 points. All right. Let's see. Andre Iguodala had 11 points, 2 blocks, 2 steals, 2 rebounds, shot 4 of 8, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. Jordan Bill dropped in 4 points, 4 rebounds, and a block, shot 2 of 3. He's going to be a real nice player for them going forward. All right, might even become a starter for them eventually. And then you had Nick Young, who played 9 minutes. All right, seemingly having the best time of his life now that they're celebrating the championship and all. Finished with 3 points and rebound, 1 of 4 shooting, but was a +1 or +7 out there. So that's a plus, I guess. No pun intended. For the Cavs, you had LeBron, who dropped in 23 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 1 block. Shot 7 of 13, only took 1 3. I wonder why. All right, Kevin Love had 13 points, shot 4 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from the three-point line, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. This was easily his worst game of the finals. Played pretty well, though, I'd say, in 3 out of the 4. Tristan Thompson dropped in 6 points, 4 rebounds, was 3 of 5 from the field. Wasn't great, didn't have really too much of an impact there. George Hill stunk it up, 3 points, 3 rebounds, shot 1 of 7, 1 of 4 from the three-point line. J.R. Smith had 10 points, 2 rebounds, shot 3 of 5 from the three-point line, 3 of 8 from the field as a whole. Larry Nance had 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal and a block. Did well there. Filled up the stat sheet a bit. Jeff Green played 24 minutes. He had 5 points, shot 2 of 8. All right, 1 of 3 from the three-point line. Then you had Kyle Korver. Only 2 points. Both of those came from free throws. Was 0 of 6 from the field there. Kyle Korver played about as bad as he could. Okay. And then you had Rodney Hood, who played extremely well in Game 3, but nonetheless came back down to life. Game 4, had 10 points, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, 8 rebounds, shot 4 of 14, 1 of 3 from the three-point line. All right, no Jordan Clarkson in this one. So the Cavs ended up shooting 34% from the field, 30% from 3, and then the Warriors shot 45% from the field, 37% from 3 there. Obviously a big difference here, okay? Watch the game. I wasn't really interested in the game itself. I watched it because I have to and all, but there was no I wonder what's going to happen or anything like that. We knew how this was going to end, okay? Or at least I did, I guess, calling a blowout and a sweep, all right? But nonetheless, I guess it is what it is for the Cavs. No one expected them to win. As far as what we learned from this series is that, I don't know, we didn't learn anything. Warriors are still the best team. The Cavs need LeBron, and that's pretty much it, honestly. There's no real takeaways here. We didn't come away learning anything new. Maybe that Kevin Durant is the best player on the Warriors, but I feel like we have already known that. Okay, as good as Steph is, he's just not the player that KD is. Steph is more of a leader, but nonetheless, KD is the better all-around player, I'd say. Okay, as much as people dislike him. And as far as it goes, Cleveland, this was expected. All right. I picked the Warriors to win in 5. I think I gave Cleveland too much credit thinking they could pull out a win in this series. All right. And obviously we saw that LeBron James, after the Game 4, had the cast on his hand. I'm not sure really. I think it was broken and all, but I don't like how he waits till after the series to bring out the cast. Okay, because it kind of gives off the notion that he didn't want to create a distraction and didn't want to create excuses for his team in this series. But it's a point where, let's say LeBron has 2 bionic hands where they could never break or anything like that, and they work perfectly. Cavs still get swept. Okay? Broken hand or good hand, it doesn't matter. It's not a story. Nothing new was learned here, all right? It didn't affect the series, all right? Maybe you think that if LeBron had a healthy hand that they would have won a game. Sure, they didn't really show that in game. Well, actually, they did in game 1. They almost won, so I guess, yeah, got me there. But nonetheless, like I said, it wouldn't have made a difference in the series, okay? They were still going to lose. Cleveland never had a chance to begin with, none whatsoever. All right, the only people that probably thought Cleveland had a chance were either LeBron fans or Cleveland fans. No, those are not really the same thing. All right, but nonetheless, like I said, there was no surprise here. Okay, LeBron's broken hand doesn't matter to me. It could have been healthy, doesn't matter. As far as the Warriors, we had Kevin Durant winning the Finals MVP. Once again, Steph Curry doesn't get it, and I don't think it really hinders Steph's career, the fact that he doesn't have a Finals MVP. Okay, because look at it this way. How many other players that have come through this league, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, all those guys that have won a unanimous MVP? And I'm not saying Steph's better than them. Okay, but I'm just saying, how many of them won a unanimous MVP? None of them. Steph's already got a second MVP after that. Okay. Already the greatest shooter of all time. Going to break all the three-point records. Okay. A team leader, beloved by his fans. 3 championships. Just no Finals MVP. Are we going to hold that against them? I'm not. If you want to, you can. But, I mean, deep down, you got to know that Steph Curry is a great player. And I think, is he a top 20 player yet? Okay. He might be, honestly. I think it's time we might have to start talking about it. I think Kevin Durant's already a top 15 player. All right, he's got 2 titles, 2 MVPs. Finals MVPs. He's got a regular season MVP. One of the greatest scorers of all time. I mean, I feel like now more so people move the goal sticks as far as where he's supposed to aim at. But nonetheless, I do think that Steph is top 20 and KD is top 15. Okay. And I guess now we just move on to the offseason where's LeBron going to go? Is Kawhi going to get traded? What's Paul George going to do? I mean, there's a whole lot of questions here. And I mean, if you're Cleveland, you're looking at it, you're kind of scared. Okay? Because your future basically rests on one man. LeBron leaves, they're going to be so bad for the near future. Okay? Really bad. And Kevin Love says he wants to finish his career in Cleveland. If I'm him, I mean, that's great. You want to be loyal and all, but get out of Cleveland, Kevin Love. Okay, if LeBron leaves, don't waste the rest of your career there. Kevin Love still has something to give. I think he could be a solid number 3 option for a team. But it's just a point where don't go through so many losing seasons with Cleveland. Okay, I really do think that he should end up leaving if LeBron does leave too. Like I said, I mean, maybe Michael Porter Jr. falls to the Cavs and maybe they get a steal there. Maybe they take Colin Sexton or even Trae Young, possibly. I'm not sure, but it's not looking great for Cleveland going forward. So we're going to wrap it up there. Next up, we're going to be talking about where LeBron's going to end up going. I'm going to give my thoughts on it. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about the finals between the Warriors and Cavs. I mean, nothing really new was learned here. Okay, pretty much all the same that we expected. And now pretty much we wait to see what happens with LeBron, which we're going to be talking about right now. Okay, and obviously, we've seen some rumors come up about the Warriors and all, but one that doesn't seem as crazy to me as maybe it should is him coming to Boston. Okay? I mean, it is crazy, and I highly, highly doubt it will happen, but, I mean, if you're looking at LeBron and maybe seeing what his decisions might, like what he might be thinking about as far as the team he's going to, let's say that he's thinking about, you know what, I want to beat this Warriors team. I finally want to beat these guys. I beat them once, and I know I can do it again, but I just need the right amount of help. Okay? In order to beat the Warriors, I feel like the top teams for that would be either Boston or Houston. Okay? Philly, as good as they are, adding LeBron, I think they get out of the East, but I'm not sure they beat the Warriors. Okay? Let's say that the Celtics... Well, it's two different scenarios. Let's say that Kyrie's not happy about it. Boston signs LeBron. Celtics could trade Kyrie or whatnot. Let's say that doesn't happen and that Kyrie ends up playing the season with LeBron. Okay. I'm sure that the Celtics have to work out some type of... I don't know. Do you work out a trade? Because you're going to be bringing in LeBron. You'd have Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Hayward, Tatum, Braun, and Horford. Do you maybe try to trade Horford and run with a small ball lineup? I don't think that would work. Okay. And you're not trading Hayward. But either way, let's say that they make it work. You got those guys on there. I mean, look at that. The six that I just listed to you. Okay. We don't think that they could beat the Warriors? I think they would have a shot. At least a better one than Philly. Okay? So like I said, if LeBron's main goal is to beat the Warriors, and I think you got to look at Houston or Boston as your choices. But, I mean, we still got a month to figure out what's going on. All right? And if you're LeBron, I would think about Philly also, given that they're a very young team. You already got Covington there. You got Saric there. You got Fultz, Simmons, and Embiid. And then if you go there, you don't necessarily have to do everything that you did in Cleveland. Okay? I'm not saying to take a back seat, but more so the workload's going to be a whole lot less. You don't need to be the primary ball handler on the team anymore. Okay? And, I mean, for Philly, it'd be kind of like the scenario where they had Chris Paul and James Harden. One of them is going to be on the floor at all times with Ben Simmons and LeBron. Okay, you could have one of those guys on the floor at all times, and I feel like that keeps your team, fluid and good on offense. All right? Plus seeing LeBron maybe playing with Embiid. Let's say you have Embiid on the corner. All right, LeBron drives in, draws in Embiid's guy. LeBron dishes it out. Easy threes for Embiid. All right, you probably see Embiid's three-point numbers go up big time. And like I said, if you're LeBron and you go to Philly, that's a better chance of you just making it to the finals year after year. Obviously, it's going to be a bit tougher with the Celtics getting better, adding Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. But I still think Philly would give them a run for their money. All right, and like I said, you can't really bet against LeBron anyway. So, Philly's a solid option. We talked about Boston. As far as Houston, I like Houston, but it seems like it's unlikely to happen, given the fact that Houston has to figure out a way to get rid of Brian Anderson's contract. And if they want to keep Chris Paul there and also bring in LeBron, you're probably going to have to get rid of a bunch of other guys, maybe gut the team a bit, just so you can make the money work. Because Chris Paul says that he's not signing for anything other than the max, and I can't blame him there. All right, and also I'm sure LeBron's going to be wanting to take the max also. Okay? So it's going to be real interesting to see what he does as far as Houston. Like I said, that seems like it's the most. It's the one that makes the most sense, but it's the one where it's going to be tough to get him there. When I say make the most sense, meaning that team with LeBron can beat the Warriors. Okay, we saw them go 7. Chris Paul gets hurt in Game 6. Let's say he does it. Maybe they end up winning that series. All right. But nonetheless, like I said, they got to find a way to make the money work. Someone's got to take on that Ryan Anderson contract. A team like the Kings usually would be the team to trade him there to take on that contract, but it seems like now the Kings are smarter, so I don't see that happening. Maybe a team like the Mavericks possibly, who need to eat up some cap, maybe. Memphis possibly, I'm not sure, but nonetheless, first and foremost, you got to figure out a way to get rid of Ryan Anderson and figure out a way to get CP3 the max and LeBron, but I don't see how you make that work and keep some decent pieces around him, given the fact that James Harden's already making $1 bajillion. So we'll see there. All right. Then as far as the Warriors, if it's just a point of you just want to win titles, then you go there. LeBron goes to the Warriors. The next 5 years in the NBA are all but locked up, okay? And no one's going to have any chance whatsoever. Like, imagine the Warriors trotting out a team of Steph, Clay, LeBron, KD, and Iguodala. Okay. Obviously, Draymond Green's probably the odd man out there. But nonetheless, just imagine that, because it seems like Draymond Green's going to want the Supermax if he ends up being an All-Pro, an NBA All-First Team or anything like that, MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. If he gets one of those, then he does get to be eligible for the Supermax. But just imagine that starting 5. How do you beat that team? I don't think you do. Okay? And it's not like they'd go 82-0 or anything like that, because, you'd see guys, if they pick up a knock or whatnot, take some extended rest, because, we got LeBron, we got KD. Let's say Steph picks up an injury or whatnot, like he usually does. Oh, yeah, go ahead, take a month off, okay? LeBron and KD will handle it. Let's say KD gets hurt, you're fine. Clay, same thing, okay? So, if LeBron's just tired of losing, he just wants to win and add to his resume, you go to the Warriors. All right, that'd be curious. That'd be a 3-way fight for Finals MVP. That'd be the real competition of each league season, is just seeing who's going to win Finals MVP between LeBron, KD, and Steph Curry. All right, so that's a possibility. Then, the Cavs, he could just go back there, stay there. But if you're LeBron, do you want to do that? Do you trust that Dan Gilbert can build a decent team around you? Do you even want to play for Dan Gilbert? Okay, do you want to play for Ty Lue? Look at the team that you got out there now. Adding a superstar is not going to help. You might lose in 6 to the Warriors or 5, but you won't beat them. Of course, you do make a lot more money, I think, if you stay with the Cavs. It's just a point where, I don't know, the Cavs have always seemingly refused to put talent around LeBron, dare I say. Okay? Because people say, oh yeah, Kyrie and Kevin Love. It's really only Kevin Love. Kyrie was there before LeBron came back. All right, and in LeBron's first run with Cleveland, I mean, the biggest thing with Cleveland is that they refuse to put superstars with LeBron. They refuse to get him help. Okay? It was literally LeBron leading them every year. And that's why he never won a finals with them before. Okay? But now, like I said, it's just a point where I don't think it makes much sense to go back to Cleveland. Unless he just wants to be remembered as a hometown hero and stuff, and he cares about all that. But like I said, I mean, going back to Cleveland is basically pointless if I'm LeBron. Especially considering the fact that you might not even make it out the East if you go back to Cleveland. All right, you're going to have to deal with a better Sixers team and a better Celtics team. So we'll see there. Another team, the Lakers. Believe it or not, the Lakers got the highest odds, according to Vegas, to land LeBron. You got Gary Payton out here saying that LeBron's kid is committed to play high school basketball in L.A., same place where Kenyon Martin's son plays and the same place where Scottie Pippen's son plays. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed. It's only been, I guess, Gary Payton's the only one that said it, but I don't think we're going to see any analysts or anything like that confirming it, just given the fact that you do that, and it's more than likely that LeBron's going to be going to LA. And I mean, after that was announced, Vegas came out with the new odds, and that's when the Lakers were seen as the favorites. So obviously, Vegas knows something that we don't officially, but nonetheless, I do think that LeBron's going to end up in LA. Okay, we're going to talk about LA in the next segment too, but without LeBron. But talk about LA with LeBron. I'm sure that if LeBron ends up in LA, then we see Paul George end up in LA. And I think that team, I don't think, is good enough to beat the Warriors. Okay? I really don't. It's going to be a solid squad, but I just think that team is still too young to compete with the Warriors or even the Rockets if they end up keeping CP3. Okay? Because, I mean, of course you got Lonzo there, but Lonzo's still got a ways to go before he's at the level of a championship caliber player. Brandon Ingram's on his way to turning into a mini KD, I'd say. All right, KD 2.0. And like I said, you'd add Paul George there and LeBron, but it's just a point where do we think that is enough to beat KD, Steph, Draymond, and Klay again? Or for the first time? All right, I don't think so. You got Kyle Kuzma, but like I said, this team is just too young right now to be competing for a championship, I feel. All right. And, I mean, LeBron, if you were to go to LA, it's more so to maybe have that opportunity of becoming a billionaire. Okay? The Lakers are big in China. That's where Kobe Bryant gets a lot of his money after retirement. All right? And if I'm LeBron, I want some of that China money too. Okay? LeBron, I think, is a bigger, not yet, but he could become a bigger marketing star than Kobe. All right, LeBron's got the star power, all the right people around him in order to make that a possibility. Plus, I mean, he's a $1 billion athlete from Nike. At least he's got a lifetime contract for $1 billion. Okay? But nonetheless, I do think that he probably will end up in LA if it's true about his son committing to play basketball, high school ball in LA. All right, and I think it'd be good for the Lakers. It'd be good for the Lakers-Celtics rivalry, too. I mean, LeBron's already had a rivalry with the Celtics his entire career. Now you add him to the Lakers, that rivalry just gets bigger, especially considering the fact that it's the Lakers. Plus, you got Kyrie over in Boston. I mean, the little Kyrie-LeBron rivalry. All right, Celtics-Lakers. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. If I'm the NBA, that's what I'm actually hoping for then. All right? Maybe if you're the Lakers, you could figure out a way. I don't think they can, actually, to get Boogie Cousins there if you get Paul George and LeBron, because you'll both have them at max contracts. I was on the side of one time, too. I remember about maybe a month ago. I was on the side of, you know what, if I'm the Lakers, I don't want LeBron there, but I'm kind of at the point where I've kind of changed my mind and realized, you know what, it'd probably be best if they did bring him around. Okay? But nonetheless, like I said, next up, we're going to be talking about what if LeBron wasn't to go to L.A., and Paul George was to decide between OKC and the Lakers. What would be the best option there? Okay, so we'll talk about that for the next segment. And like I said, for the fourth segment, we'll be talking about anything else going on in the world of basketball. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. So far today, we recapped the finals. All right, talked about that series. I mean, we didn't really learn anything from the finals. I mean, it's pretty much what we all expected. The only people, I guess, who came out disappointed, I guess, is anyone who expected a competitive series. All right, or wanted a competitive series. Me, I just figured that, you know what, Warriors are probably going to do their thing and win in 5 games. Turns out they actually won in 4. Okay, so that ended up happening. Kevin Durant, your finals MVP. Steph still looking for that award, but I mean, he doesn't necessarily need it, I don't think. I mean, I think he played pretty well in this finals. I mean, except for Game 3, he was on it. Okay, last year I feel like he played well. But it's just tough when you got Kevin Durant playing on your team, and I understand that the first 2 he didn't really play well, but what can you do there? He still got 3 titles, 2 MVPs, greatest shooter of all time, and going to end up breaking all the 3-point records. So, I mean, you can wait on the finals MVP all you want. Dude's already a top 20 player all time, I feel. All right, he's already a top 5 point guard. But nonetheless, that's what we talked about in the first segment. Second segment, we talked about LeBron watch. Where's he going? All right. Talked about each of the 7 teams that are interested in him. We didn't talk about Miami, but Miami, I don't really see that happening. All right, it's going to take a lot for them to be able to grab him, snatch him up, but like I said, I just don't see it happening. I mean, with Boston, I mean, it's out there for that to happen, but if his main goal is to beat the Warriors, then I think Boston's one of the best places for him. Okay, if you just want to say forget it and just win championships, then you go to the Warriors. If the Rockets can make it work, then maybe you figure out a way to get there. Philly is a team where you'll make it out the East, most likely. It'll be tough getting past Boston, but I mean, you can't really bet against LeBron. It's just a matter of, do you think Philly is good enough to beat the Warriors? And then there is the Cavs. You could stay there if you would like. I'm not sure why you do that unless you just want to be recognized, like be beloved by the home state team, I'd say, because he's not even from Cleveland. Okay? I mean, you're not really going to win much. Maybe Dan Gilbert can try and get a superstar there, but I don't even think that'll be enough. All right? Or you could go to the Lakers, where I think he probably will. With the Lakers, you're not going to beat the Warriors within the first couple of years of your time there. Maybe after that. But it's more so a point where you'll be a solid team, a top 4 team in the West, and you'll make a lot of money. Okay? Marketing will be pretty much amazing there. So if you're LeBron, that's why you go to LA. But like I said, if you want to truly beat the Warriors and that's your main goal, then it's either Houston if they make it work or Boston. If you want to continue going to the finals and having a shot to beat the Warriors, then it's Philly. If you want to be beloved, it's Cleveland. And if you want to make money, it's LA. So we'll see exactly what he ends up doing there. But let's say, like I said, I got LeBron going to LA. Let's say he doesn't go there, okay? Let's say he decides, you know what, I'm going to go over to Philly or Boston. All right, or Houston, doesn't even matter. So that leaves Paul George. What's Paul George going to do? All right, if you're Paul George, let's say that your top 2 choices are either going back to OKC or playing for the Lakers. What's the better fit? What's the better option? Okay, who's going to win more and all? Let's start off with OKC since he just recently played there. This past season, I believe they finished as the 5th seed. I think it was the 5th seed. All right, let me double check that. So they finished this season as the 4th seed, actually, 48-34. 27-14 at home, 21-20 on the road. In their division, they were 5-11. As far as their conference record, it was not great at all. Actually had the second most losses out of the top 8 teams, went 28-24. All right. And like I said, got bounced in the first round by the Jazz, which I guess for some was considered an upset. I figured the Jazz were going to win in 5. They won in 6. Okay, but nonetheless, you just finished up a year there. You guys had your highs, you had your lows. You made the playoffs, but you got bounced in 6 games when it should have been 5, but the Jazz blew that lead in the fifth game 5. All right, why do you go back to Oklahoma City? To get paid? I mean, you could get paid in LA, though. Okay, well, you get to play with Russell Westbrook, who is one of the best players in the league, I'd say. You get to play with Carmelo Anthony. Maybe he figures it out this season. All right? And maybe it was just, like, because watching the Thunder this season, I didn't really think they were that good of a team. Of course, they had great individual talent, but I just think that it wasn't going to mesh well, and it didn't, I don't think. Like I said, there were times where the Thunder looked good. Maybe a team that could challenge the Warriors. I mean, I never thought that, but that was the narrative at some points during the season. Okay? That never came to fruition, I think is the word. And nonetheless, maybe it was just a matter of they just needed a year to get used to each other. Because obviously Russell Westbrook's a guy who needs the ball in his hands to be as good as he is. Same with Carmelo Anthony, and the same, I don't know, Paul George did well this season, but not as well as you'd see him with the Pacers. Okay? But nonetheless, like I said, maybe all they needed was a year of development, and next year they figure out what they need to do and pretty much how to make it work. So, I mean, as far as winning and all, you'll probably still make the playoffs, but it's going to be tough getting out the first round again. The Jazz should be better. The Timberwolves should be better. The Spurs should be better. The Warriors are the Warriors. Rockets should be good. If they don't get LeBron, they'll probably just bring back CP3. Okay? The Pelicans might be better. Portland, I think the Thunder could beat Portland. That's pretty much it right there. Denver's going to be better. So there's going to be a lot of good teams in the West next season. So, I mean, you'll probably make it to playoffs, but getting out the first round isn't necessarily a given. Okay, and how about the Lakers? Or not how about the Lakers? Yeah, how about the Lakers? All right, LeBron's not going there, but you still have an opportunity to get the max deal there. What do you think? All right, if I'm Paul George and I'm from LA, I'd say that I'd still go to LA. Looking at the Lakers, okay, you got Lonzo Ball who can create space to get you open at the three-point line, and I think that Paul George would benefit greatly from that. Okay, you got a guy in Brandon Ingram who is already turning into a very good scorer. Isn't that yet, but nonetheless is on his way. Kind of like a KD 2.0. I'm not saying he's as good or anything like that, but they got similar game styles. You got a guy in Kyle Kuzma who could come off the bench. Okay, give you 16 off the bench right there. That's 6 man of the year stuff. All right. Obviously, I think that their biggest need is going to be at center if they get Paul George, and at shooting guard. Okay, if you look at Paul George, you'll have Ball there. All right, you're going to need a shooting guard. You'll have George playing the 4 if you want, or you could have him playing the 3. You have him or Ingram at the 3 or 4, and then at the 5, you're going to need a center. Okay, it's looking like DeAndre Jordan might opt out of his deal this season. Seems like DeAndre Jordan wants to head over to Houston, but nonetheless, if I'm the Lakers, I'm going to kick the tires and see maybe if he wants to stay in LA but play for the real LA team. Okay, because if you get DeAndre Jordan there, then I feel like if you get DeAndre Jordan there, I feel like the Lakers get a whole lot better, and I feel like DeAndre Jordan would play well with Lonzo. Okay, so that's a possibility. Or even you throw a max contract DeMarcus Cousins' way. Okay, obviously DeMarcus Cousins, he's like, 27, I believe, in the middle of his prime, coming off of an Achilles injury, though. And he's 7 foot. Obviously, Achilles injuries and 7-footers don't really go together. But nonetheless, if I'm the Lakers, I'm definitely looking at DeMarcus Cousins if LeBron doesn't come here and I'm able to get Paul George. Okay? And I do think that if the Lakers were to add DeMarcus Cousins and Paul George, then that makes them a playoff team. All right. And I mean, the Lakers already could be a playoff team with or without Paul George, I think. They're that good. It's just a point of how much better can they get. And this offseason is going to be real huge here, okay? It's going to be going after LeBron, Paul George, maybe Boogie Cousins if you don't get LeBron. I mean, It's going to be real interesting to see. Like I said, I'd like to see LeBron end up on LA just so we could see the Kyrie Irving LeBron rivalry get a little bit hyped up just because of the Celtics Lakers also. So it's going to be real interesting to see what exactly come about this free agency. But like I said, if I'm Paul George, I'm going to LA. I feel like that's probably the better option. I feel like things will go along a lot smoother there. The team will look a lot better. And like I said, with the Thunder, we already know what happens in the first round. They'll probably lose. With the Lakers, obviously you're not going to get too far in the playoffs, but nonetheless, your future is pretty bright as far as making it out. So we'll see what ends up going down. But like I said, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of basketball. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. So far today, we've talked about the finals, wrapped that up, recapped it. All right, Warriors sweep the Cavs. Kevin Durant's your finals MVP. LeBron broke his hand. Didn't really make a difference. They would have got swept anyways. So we talked about that. Second segment, we talked about where LeBron could end up, looked at the different spots, and talked about why it'd be a good fit. And then for the third segment, talked about what if LeBron doesn't go to LA and Paul George's top two choices are Oklahoma City or LA. Where do you go? I figured LA would be the best spot for him, given the fact that he's from there, and I think they have a better future than the Thunder. So we'll see what ends up happening. But like I said, I'm only talking about if LeBron doesn't end up signing with the Lakers. Because if LeBron goes to the Lakers, then I'm almost positive Paul George is going to end up there. So we'll see what ends up going down. But nonetheless, for this segment, going to talk about anything else going on in the world of basketball, so let's get into that. All right. So remember Dwayne Casey, all right, was the coach of the year for the Raptors this season. All right. Was the coach of the year of the league, actually, I should say. But nonetheless, coaching the Raptors. They finished, 58 and 24, 23, 59 and 23. Okay. For the regular season, looked like the best team in the East by far. Finished 4 games up on the Celtics, 7 games up on the Sixers, 9 games up on the Cavs, the 2, 3, and 4 teams of the East. And end up making the playoffs, okay? DeMar DeRozan had a really good regular season. Kyle Lowry also had a very good regular season. They beat the Wizards in 6. Kyle Lowry's playing well. DeMar DeRozan's playing okay. Then they meet the Cavs in the second round. Okay, of course, with what we've seen over the years with the Raptors and Cavs in the playoffs is that LeBron owns Toronto and real estate and every single player on that team's head. Okay, and the Raptors end up getting swept by the Cavs. Obviously, not ideal. All right. Like I said, Dwayne Casey won Coach of the Year award. Okay, Raptors finished as the number 1 seed. But they got swept, so management says, you know what, thanks, but no thanks, we're going to fire you. Okay, and I think that Dwayne Casey getting fired was more so because of fan pressure rather than it's what the front office wanted. Okay, because Dwayne Casey, I think, is a very good coach. I'd say he's a top 7 coach in this league. And I feel like it wasn't his fault that they got swept against the Cavs. I honestly don't. I understand that this Cavs team was bad and all, but nonetheless, when you got DeMar DeRozan playing about as terrible as he can be, that makes it tough for you to go out and win, okay? He's playing so bad that you got to bench him and see what else you got. I mean, what more can Dwayne Casey do there exactly? Okay? Not really much. And it's just a point where, I mean, you can choose to give in to the fans and blame him, or you can look at the players, as which they probably should have. All right, I look at this Raptors team. They have a good team, but the problem is, in the NBA, and when you're in a playoff series, it's normally great to have the best player in the series because that means more so that you're most likely going to win. Okay? And obviously, with the Raptors, they don't really have the luxury of that happening. Let's say that they were to play a series against the Celtics, okay? Kyrie Irving is the best player in that series. Against Philly, Embiid is the best player in that series. Against Cleveland, LeBron is the best player in that series. Against Detroit, okay, wouldn't Blake Griffin be the best player in that series? Indiana, I'd say that DeMar DeRozan gets the edge there. Milwaukee, Giannis is the best player in that series. Okay, let's say that Charlotte were to make it in. They play the Raptors. It'd be close, but yeah, I'll give it to DeRozan. Against Miami, yeah, Miami's got a solid team, but no real star players. And then against Washington, it'd be John Wall as the best player in that series. Okay? There's only a handful of teams in the East where the Raptors would have the best player in the series, and I think that's one of the biggest problems. And another problem is that no one really wants to go and play in Toronto. We've seen Vince Carter leave there. We've seen Tracy McGrady leave there, and I'm sure DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry is going to end up leaving there too. All right, but nonetheless, the point I'm getting at here is Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan aren't enough to do well in the playoffs. And I feel like people have been looking at them as if, yeah, this is their two superstars here, where in reality, I don't think DeRozan or Kyle Lowry are superstars. Okay? So I don't more so think it was Dwayne Casey's fault, but more so the problem of they don't have enough. They do have young players who are developing and looking good. Maybe you could trade to try and get a star player. I'm not sure what their draft pick situation is looking like, but they do need to do more. All right, you can't go into this season with just led by DeRozan and Lowry. You need something more. So we'll see if they're able to do that. But nonetheless, the whole point of this is to talk about the fact that they hired their coaching assistant, Nick Nurse. All right, and I'm not entirely sure that the Raptors ended up with the better coach here. I mean, if you were going to hire your assistant, why not just hire him immediately after? Why did it take so long to hire your coaching assistant? All right, to be your head coach. They gave him a 3-year deal. I mean, 3 years isn't much, I'd say. Maybe it's pretty much here. We're going to give you 3 years. Do what you can with this team that you got here, possibly. All right, and I think that Dwayne Casey did probably end up in a better, not in a better spot, but more so in a spot where he could develop a team and bring them back to the top, talking about the Pistons. All right, Dwayne Casey's now with the Pistons, got a 5-year deal. I mean, I think that's a perfect deal right there. Dwayne Casey brought the Raptors up from being garbage. Okay? The Raptors were bad for so long after McGrady and Carter left. Casey comes in, they start to elevate, play well. They're a top team in the East. Okay? Now he's going over to Detroit, where they've been bad for the last couple of years. I think they have one playoff appearance in the last 5 years, I'd say. Okay? And I think Dwayne Casey can do well to try and mesh this team together, where you got Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond. Okay, I think they do need to add a guy like Kemba Walker. If they do that, I think that this is a playoff team. And also, I'm curious to see what Dwayne Casey could do with Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson's got a lot of raw athletic ability. He kind of reminds me of Jaylen Brown, except Jaylen Brown ended up developing a jump shot and a three-point shot. Okay? If Stanley Johnson were to do that, he's a future superstar. All right, he's got all the athleticism you need. You can play defense. Like I said, he's just got no jump shot whatsoever. But I'm sure Dwayne Casey could try and figure out what to do with him. And if not, maybe you package him up and try and trade him for Kemba Walker. Maybe a Stanley Johnson and Reggie Jackson trade package for Kemba Walker would work there. All right, because if you're Charlotte, you get a young player in Stanley Johnson. And of course, I mean, Reggie Jackson's good enough to be a starter, but you're not going to win too many games, so you'll do well in the lottery. All right, but nonetheless, like I said, I'm not too sure that the Raptors ended up with a better coach here. I mean, I think the point of firing a coach and hiring a new one is to get a better one. I'm not sure they did that. Okay, so it's going to be real interesting to see what comes about from both of these teams. And I mean, with the Raptors, you're not going to be better than Philly, I don't think, and I definitely don't think they'll be better than Boston. Milwaukee's going to be better. Indiana's going to be better. Okay, Miami should be better. You'll probably be better than the Wizards. And maybe some other team sneaks in if LeBron leaves Cleveland. So we'll see what ends up coming about that. But like I said, Raptors better hope they made the right decision. I don't think they did, and I think Dwayne Casey's in a good spot with Detroit, so we'll see what ends up going down. But nonetheless, we got Kyrie Irving and Celtics rumors, talks, okay? Kyrie Irving's been asked about his contract situation. He says that it makes no sense to sign an extension right now. People are going to try and turn that into Kyrie's going to leave. I don't think Kyrie's going to leave. I just think it's more so you sign an extension now, you leave $80 million on the table. Okay, obviously you don't want to do that. I'd understand if it was like $5 million or whatever, but this is $80 million we're talking about. There's no way any player in their right mind would leave that on the table. Okay, so I think Kyrie's gonna become a free agent after 2019, or I think it's after this upcoming season. Okay, after this upcoming season, I believe, and. Or is it after this upcoming season or is it the next season? I have to double check his contract, but nonetheless, will be a free agent within the next couple of years. Okay, and I think that it's just more so a point where Boston can offer him that money, but of course, he wants to make that money. You don't want to leave $80 million on the table. So I don't think, like, there's been rumblings as far as the Knicks being a team that could possibly swoop in on him. I mean, that is his childhood team right there. He's from New York and all, but going from Boston to New York doesn't really put you in a great situation. Okay, if we were to put this Celtics team up against, well, let's say we take Kyrie off the Celtics, put him on the Knicks right now. Let's say Kristaps is healthy and all. The Celtics are still better than the Knicks, and that's not really close. Okay? Honestly. I mean, we saw Terry Rozier did his thing in the playoffs. Looks like he could be a starting point guard in this league. Gordon Hayward with the Celtics, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Al Horford. I mean, that's a great team right there. Okay? And that team, without Kyrie and Hayward, took the Cavs to 7 games. You had Hayward, I'm sure they're a whole lot better. All right? So I don't see why Kyrie would go to a team where, I mean, it's a team with less history. Okay, an overrated franchise. I mean, the last time they won a title was in 75. All right? Had John Starks and Patrick Ewing lose a bunch of times. I think they lost once with Latrell Sprewell. Since then, I mean, you made the playoffs a couple times with Melo. All right, so obviously it would make sense for him to go to New York, make money there instead of making the same money with Boston. All right. And I mean, if you're Kyrie and you're thinking about winning championships, you got to stay in Boston, right? I mean, the team they got now with him and Hayward, why wouldn't they go out and win anything? So, like I said, people are going to try and put a little too much into the rumors, but I think Kyrie, when it's all said and done, will end up with Boston. Okay. But if they end up bringing in LeBron, if that does happen, which I doubt, Kyrie might end up leaving. So who knows there? But nonetheless, that's all I got to say. So we're going to wrap it up here. Today we recapped the finals, okay? Like I said, nothing learned really. I mean, we all expected the Warriors to win. Durant, your finals MVP. LeBron played from games 2 to game 4 with a broken hand. All right, segment 2, we talked about where LeBron could end up. Talked about 7 teams, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Warriors, the Cavs, Sixers, and Celtics. Are we missing a team? I think that's it. All right, and yeah, like I said, Sixers. So we talked about that. Talked about why it'd be good for him to go to each of those teams. Third segment, we talked about what if LeBron doesn't go to LA and Paul George's top 2 choices are OKC and LA. Where does he go there? I thought it'd be LA for the best spot. And then for this segment, we talked about the Raptors hiring their new head coach, talked about Dwayne Casey, where he's at now, and then also talked about where Kyrie Irving and his contract situation. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Like I said, it's the offseason. It's the 1 day a week show on Wednesday. So I will be back next Wednesday. So stay tuned till then, and I will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.